The Pollock Twins reincarnation case. Sometimes, the veil between life and death feels impossibly thin. Sometimes, stories arise that leave scientists confused, families shaken, and skeptics silent. And sometimes, just sometimes, the tragedy unfolds in such a disturbing, impossible way, that the universe seems to rewrite the rules of existence. Tonight, we enter one of the most debated, haunting, and deeply human stories of the past century. A story about loss, about grief, about the fragile threads of life, and about what might come after. This is the case of the Pollock Twins. The case still whispered about in books, documentaries, and parapsychology circles. The tale many consider the strongest reincarnation evidence ever recorded. So sit back, breathe slowly, and let the atmospheres of mystery envelop you. Chapter 1. A quiet town and a family of hope. Our story begins in Hexham, the small, peaceful, unassuming town in England. It was the early 1950s, the time marked by simple lives, quiet streets, and families who knew every neighbor by name. Among them lived John and Florence Pollock, the humble couple raising two daughters. 11-year-old Joanna, kind, artistic, caring. 6-year-old Jacqueline, lively, chatty, and always at her sister's side. The Pollock family lived an ordinary life, yet an extraordinary shadow was already forming. Because John, the father, held a strong belief in reincarnation. He was convinced souls returned, that consciousness wasn't bound to the body. Florence, his wife, disagreed. She was grounded, practical, devoted to traditional Christian teachings. But John's belief would soon be tested in a way he never wanted. Chapter 2. The tragedy that changed everything. May 7, 1957. A quiet Sunday morning that should have been ordinary, became one of the darkest days the town had ever seen. Joanna and Jacqueline, dressed in their Sunday clothes, walked hand in hand toward church. The sun was gentle, the streets calm, and nothing seemed out of place. But around a quiet bend in the road, a woman with severe mental health issues gained control of a car she intended to use for self-harm. She sped down the street, swerving out of control, and in a single devastating moment, she struck the Pollock sisters. When the chaos settled, Joanna and Jacqueline were gone. The town froze in shock. The Pollock parents collapsed in grief, and their peaceful life was shattered forever. Chapter 3. The father's unsettling belief. In the heavy days of mourning, John told his grieving wife something she couldn't accept. He said he knew, not hoped, not imagined, knew the girls would return. "I feel it," he whispered. "They're coming back to us." Florence rejected the idea. She needed to heal, not chase impossible hopes. But John's belief only grew stronger, almost frighteningly strong, as if he sensed something no one else could. Chapter 4. The twins are born 1 year after the tragedy. Florence became pregnant again. On October 4, 1958, she gave birth to identical twin girls, something with no previous history in either side of their family. They named them Jillian Jennifer. The twins were beautiful, healthy, and seemed like any other newborns. But soon, very soon, the strange signs began. Chapter 5. Signs from a life they never lived. Sign number 1. Birthmarks that shouldn't exist. Jennifer, the younger twin, had 2 unusual marks on her body. A dark mark on her forehead, matching the exact scar Jacqueline had from a childhood fall. Another mark on her waist, matching a birthmark Jacqueline also had. Identical location. Identical shape. Doctors dismissed it as coincidence. But John and Florence did not. Sign number 2. Knowledge they shouldn't have had. When the twins grew old enough to walk and talk, the memories started bleeding through. They began recognizing toys that belonged to the deceased sisters, even though the parents had hidden them away. One day, Florence brought down the old box of toys from the attic, planning to donate them. The twins rushed toward them. "That's my doll!" Gillian shouted. "That's mine," Jennifer added. Each child picked toys that had belonged specifically to Joanna and Jacqueline. They even knew their names. Florence froze. Her knees went weak. The toys had been hidden before the twins were born. Sign number 3. Memories of a different house. When the twins first learned to walk, the family moved into a new home. But one day, as the twins passed their old neighborhood, they pointed to a familiar house and said, "That's where we lived before." They had never lived there. But Joanna and Jacqueline had. Sign number 4. The accident that haunted them even more chilling. The twins began showing the terrifying fear of cars. Whenever the vehicle approached them on the street, they clung to their mother, screaming, "The car! It's coming to get us!" They cried in panic as if reliving trauma. Gillian once pointed to a random street corner and said, "That's where the car hit us." She said us, not them. She had never been in an accident. Neither had Jennifer. But Joanna and Jacqueline, they had died exactly that way. Chapter 6. Conversations that shouldn't exist. One of the most disturbing elements came when the twins were around 4. Florence overheard them playing a strange game. Jennifer lay on the floor with her eyes closed. Gillian knelt beside her. "You have blood coming out of your eyes," Gillian said gently. "That's where the car hit you." No one had ever described the accident to the girls. No one dared. The trauma was too deep for the parents to repeat. And yet, the children described it in perfect detail. They even mimicked the position their older sisters had died in. Florence broke down crying. Something was happening. Something she could no longer deny. Chapter 7. The mother's reluctant acceptance. John had always believed, but Florence had resisted the idea of reincarnation. Yet every new sign, every fearful scream, every memory that didn't belong to them, chipped away at her doubt. Her daughters, the twins, began acting exactly like Joanna and Jacqueline had. Their personalities matched the older sisters perfectly. Their preferences were the same. Their mannerisms, the way they spoke, the way they played, all seemed like echoes of the sisters they had lost. One day, as Florence dressed the twins for school, a chilling conversation occurred. Jennifer turned to her mother and said, "Mom, I remember being hit by the car." Florence's heart stopped. Jennifer continued softly, "It was big. It came around the corner, and then, everything went dark." Florence dropped the brush in her hand. The girls were only four but spoke like witnesses to an event they could not have lived. It was then that Florence finally whispered, "Maybe John was right." Chapter 8. The PARAPSYCHOLOGIST. The case caught the attention of Dr. Ian Stevenson, a world-renowned psychologist and reincarnation researcher. After documenting thousands of cases worldwide, he declared the Pollock Twins case one of the strongest and most convincing stories of past life memory ever recorded. He interviewed the family across many years. The details were consistent. The memories were specific. The behaviors matched the deceased sisters. He concluded there was no known psychological explanation that could fully explain what the twins remembered. The case was published in academic journals. It became a cornerstone in discussions around reincarnation psychology, and to this day, no one has successfully debunked it. Chapter 9. The memories fade. Something else odd happened, something seen in many reincarnation cases. Around age 7, the memories slowly began to fade. The twins lost their fear of cars. They stopped talking about the accident. They no longer recognized old toys for places. It was as if the bridge between their past life and their present life was gently closing. By adulthood, the memories were completely gone. But the documentation remained. The interviews remained. The photographs remained. And so did the eerie, impossible consistency of their early childhood memories. Chapter 10. What does it all mean? The Pollock Twins case is more than a ghost story. It is more than folklore. More than spiritual belief. It is evidence. The data point in the vast unknown of human consciousness. The whisper suggesting that life may continue in ways we cannot yet understand. Was it truly reincarnation? Was it an unexplained genetic memory? The spiritual echo of trauma? Or something far stranger, something beyond our current science? No one knows for sure. But those who witnessed it, the parents, the researchers, the townspeople, were left with the unsettling sense that the world is deeper, and the human soul more mysterious, than we ever imagined. And to this day, the Pollock twins stand as a quiet, powerful reminder that death may not always be the end. If this story touched you, if it opened the door inside your mind, then let it sit with you tonight. Sometimes, mystery is the closest we get to truth. Sometimes, a single story can shake the way we see the world. And this was one of those stories. Thank you for watching, and for stepping into the shadows of the unknown.